Charlie Dempsey showed up and did a pretty cool angle, I thought. Well, it hit over the weekend because and I talked about it here last week on Brace for Impact that Charlie Dempsey had come in, and it looks like the No Quarter Cash crew's coming in, and they're probably going to do something at Slammiversary, and that was like a whole thing, right? But then I saw so much negativity on the fact that Charlie Dempsey was there, and I didn't understand. I was like, is this guy a bad wrestler? And I'll be honest, I don't watch NXT, so I don't watch NXT, so I don't really know much about the guy. I know that he went to All Japan and he wrestled Katsuhiko Nakajima, and it was a pretty good match, and people are attributing that to Nakajima. I'm like, okay, well, look, Dempsey's a young wrestler, he's pretty green. So I don't know, but I kept hearing like, oh, my TNA LOL, they got Charlie Dempsey. Oh, TNA is like evolved now because they got Charlie Dempsey, and then people are just referring to him as stupid Regal's kid. Regal's kid's gonna go in and infect TNA and this and that. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, why do people hate Charlie Dempsey? Like, is he a bad wrestler? So I actually did some research and was like looking. I was like, oh, this kid's not a bad wrestler. He's actually kind of good. He's not a top guy. Most people aren't, but he's not a bad wrestler. So I'm like, why do people hate the kid? What did this kid do to people? And I put it out there on one of my TNA chats, and as it turns out, people don't like him because they don't like his dad. I'm like, oh, you fucking people are stupid. If that's the case, you're all morons. If you're trying to, the sins of the father, you're trying to cast them down onto the son. This kid didn't do anything to anybody to hurt anything. He's just out there trying to become a good wrestler. And now he's working TNA. And as far as I can tell, like the kid has presence. He's pretty good in the ring. He's a little green, but that's to be expected. He's still in wrestling school, technically. That's what the NXT is. So what? But this is all about Regal. And it's not even about Regal, pilfering and destroying the UK scene. Because he did do that. Like, I will put some of that's on him. Some of it's on Triple H. Pete Dunne has a lot to do with that, too. And then the guy, I can't remember the guy's Smallman or whatever. And then, of course, Speaking Out completely decimated the UK scene to where there's only really like one or two viable indie promotions, in the UK right now. And so all those things together were pretty bad. But yeah, WWE went in there, made it seem like they were going to be friendly with the UK scene, and then did what WWE does and took all their top talent, kind of like, sorry, New Japan, that's kind of what happened to you a little bit, different scale, but yeah, went in there and took all the top talent and kind of left them decimated. Created their own WWE NXT UK, and then shit canned that whole operation. so now UK is left with nothing, right? And so I think some of that does go into Regal because Regal was the point man, right? But what this is really about, what it's really about, is he left AEW. That's the whole thing. That's why they don't like Regal's son, is because Regal left AEW to go back to WWE because he didn't love AEW anymore. Because when Triple H got in charge, he's a Triple H guy. He immediately wanted to go back, and he told AEW. He told Tony Khan, it's like, hey, I really want to go back. I want to go back and work with my son. And people think that he was lying about that. And I'm like, you guys are idiots if you think that he was lying about the fact that he wanted to go back to work with his son. You're lying. He never wanted to leave. And then once he had an opportunity to go back, Triple H gets back in charge. He took the opportunity and went back. There's nothing wrong with that. He's a professional. He had a contract with AEW. He went to Tony Khan, asked if he can get out of his contract. Tony Khan obliged and let him go back. Said, okay, but you can't be on TV for a year. He said, done. I'm not going back to be on TV anyway. And so now people are taking that as if like Regal did something personally to them. And some of this has to do with the fact that Tony Khan was on some type, I can't remember, he was in an interview at one point, and he said during the time that Regal asked, his mom was in the hospital, and so he didn't say that Regal took advantage of that situation, but I think people then said that for him, even though Tony Khan never actually said that he thought Regal took advantage of the situation. So that never actually got reported, but people just heard that part and said, oh, well, he's an evil person. He must have taken advantage of Tony Khan's situation with his mom, and which actually just didn't happen. No one's been able to prove that. That's just what people think. And it's all culture war bullshit. That's all it is. It's culture war bullshit. And the only negative thing so far with this TNA and NXT, it's TNA and NXT, it's not WWE, it's TNA and NXT partnership. The only negative thing that has happened is that TNA is now caught up in the culture war between AEW and WWE. That's it. Diehard AEW fans are now going full force trying to take down TNA on the internet, bashing everything that they do. They can't do a goddamn thing without somebody like an AEW hardcore fan coming out and bashing it. And these people don't actually watch the show. It's like they just hear that something happens. And because TNA is now connected to WWE, they are getting about 10 to 15 times more hate than they normally get. And they always got like some hate because TNA LOL is just kind of a fun thing to be a part of on Twitter. I do it sometimes too when they piss me off, which happens often. But a lot of these people, they're not watching the shows. They just get a report. And saying, they just get a report saying that something happened on TNA, or they see like a 5-second clip, and then now they're just bashing the shit out of the company. And it all has everything to do with the fact that they're working with WWE now. So it's brought out the crazies when it used to be, for the most part, everything TNA did was under the radar. And that was kind of cool because I'm like, TNA's just over here doing TNA shit. Y'all just fight. Y'all get caught up in your dumb culture war stuff. Like none of you actually work for any of those promotions. You're all idiots. WWE hardcores and AEW hardcores. You're fucking stupid. None of you are good people. So you guys are just fighting this war that you're not actually a part of. You're just on Twitter. Okay. So that's really been the only negative thing to come out of this whole deal is the fact that TNA is now caught up in the culture war. So Dempsey comes out, and I'll talk about like what happened more once I get to the review. But Dempsey comes out and shoots a cool angle. Like he comes out and nobody really recognizes him at first because he's not a star. Nobody knows, like he's not a big name. And so he comes out, and then it takes a minute, and then all of a sudden people see his face like, oh shit, it's Dempsey. And then you get the NXT chants going, and he attacks Leon Slater, who's up on the top rope, and comes in. There's a disqualification at that point. Zach Wentz confronts him, thinks that they're friends. They're not friends. Dempsey attacks him, and then Trey Miguel's still down because he's about to take the swanton from Leon Slater, and then he attacks Trey Miguel. He didn't come in and destroy the entire roster. He didn't do it. Like he's shooting an angle, and it was a good angle. It was fun, and it's going to lead to something. It looks like we're going to get No Quarter Catch Crew and the Reunited Rascals with hopefully with Wesley, Desmond, and Xavier at Slammiversary. But I can tell you right now that the whole lead up, so, Dempsey wrestles at the tapings. He's got a match coming up, I believe, against Wentz. They made the challenge. And then the No Quarter Cash Crew actually wrestled at the TV taping the next night. I guarantee you there's going to be people all over Twitter saying that WWE is burying NXT on their own show. They're doing all this stuff. And it comes from a place of insecurity from people not understanding that they're shooting an angle for Slammiversary. Nobody understands that. It's culture war bullshit. That's all this is. And TNA is now in the middle of it. They're in the thick of it. And if I were you, my audience is a very smart, sex-having audience. My advice to you would be not to get caught up in it. Don't do it. You're better than that. You're one of my guys. Don't do it. It's not fun. It's a dumb way to live your life. Do not get caught up in WWE versus AEW culture war. That is a way that you're giving up your sex life when you do that. You're not going to have any fun in life if that's the way you're going to want to live. It's stupid. Those people are stupid. don't be a part of it. just try and look at each situation independently. Look at it for what it is. What this was a cool angle on TNA television that got over with the live audience. Because the live audience that was there, they're not caught up in that culture war. They're not in it. They're having fun. And that's it. They're just having fun. So, and AEW fans are going to watch. If any of them did watch TNA this week, it's probably going to upset them that those Philly fans are having a lot of fun. And boy, oh boy, God forbid people have fun at a wrestling show. Because that's all that was.